So to understand a little bit better why these three drugs have slightly different physiological effects, let's take a little bit of closer look and uncover how aspirin works. Okay, so how does aspirin itself work? Well, as it turns out, there's really two ways that messages are sent in the body, basically. There's the chemical messaging, and that's normally handled with hormones, and then there's the nerve messages. Nerve messages is where, electrical impulses are sent throughout the body to send messages, but actually nerve messages are less efficient than chemical messages because you always have to route through the spinal cord and the brain, and the nerve endings have to actually go all the way to the cell or organ that's going to receive the message. The chemical messages is much more complicated but much more efficient method of communication within the body. So one chemical messaging system is hormones. There's a whole class of small molecules in the body called hormones. And in general, what will happen is a gland, a particular gland, whether it be your thyroid gland or your adrenal gland or your pancreas, will release hormones upon some other chemical signaling that has occurred, and then the hormones will move throughout the body and cause other biochemical changes to occur. For example, insulin. I think everybody's probably heard of insulin. That's a small protein. It's a hormone, and insulin is released from the pancreas. And what happens is the pancreas, cells in the pancreas will get a message that the glucose level in your blood is above a certain concentration, and the pancreas will release the insulin, which will travel through the bloodstream. So if you pretend like this is insulin, travel all through the bloodstream and be distributed to all over your body to different cells for all the different parts of your body. And the insulin will then bind to certain membrane-bound receptors, and that binding of the insulin will cause another channel across the cell to open and allow the glucose to be taken up by cells. Okay, so insulin is a hormone that regulates the uptake of glucose in cells. All right, and so if somebody has, for example, type 1 diabetes, then they don't produce insulin in their body anymore, and so they have to, obviously the glucose cannot be taken up in the cells unless the cell has been signaled to take up the glucose. That's why people who have type 1 diabetes have to take insulin daily and they have to try to regulate their insulin with how they eat to artificially cause those cells to open up and allow the glucose in. Okay, so that's one type of messenger.